You're listening to the Word Slinger Podcast, episode 28, Building and Marketing Courses with Scrivener coach Joseph Michael.
Having trouble defining your brand, your voice, or even your audience? Kevin Tomlinson, the Word Slinger, will help. Visit wordslingerpodcast.com to start defining your life right now.
It's the Word Slinger Podcast, where story matters. Build your brand, write your book, redefine who you are. It's all about the story here. What's yours? Now, here's the guy who invented pants optional, Kevin Tomlinson, the Word Slinger.
Word Slinger.
Hey everybody, this is Kevin Tomlinson, the Word Slinger. Thank you so much for tuning in again. Man, one more week, right? We just keep trucking along. It's like they just keep coming. And you know what's interesting is I love the fact that you're here. Here's the thing: whenever I do these interviews with some of the people that I'm talking to, all the people I'm talking to, what am I crazy? Everyone I talk to, there's this thing that happens. Like I come away from this at least as inspired as I hope you will be when you listen to the episode. And, you know, there are people in my life now that I hadn't even heard of 6 months ago that are now like these tremendous mentors for me. Now, my guest today is someone I've heard of for quite a while because a couple of years ago I started using a program called Scrivener, which you've heard me talk about on the show, I'm sure. And if you listen to any other podcasts about anything in the sort of internet marketing industry, the publishing industry, you've heard of Scrivener. It's a tool for organizing and writing that is perfect for authors. It's also good for bloggers. It's good for people who just need to write research papers or anything that involves organizing information, because it helps you kind of pull everything together in one place and then have it easily accessible and easily viewable. Now, my guest today is known by most folks as the Scrivener coach. He goes by Joseph Michael. His full name is Joseph Michael Nicoletti, and he's having a little something of a branding issue right now, and I know exactly where he's coming from. Early in my writing career, I decided to always label myself as either J. Kevin Tomlinson or J.K. Tomlinson. And that cost me later, because when I started switching to just Kevin Tomlinson for everything, there were these circles where it was difficult to kind of get people to realize that it was me. I know it seems odd, but it's true, especially the J.K. Tomlinson. I had this notion that if I wrote books under the name J.K. Tomlinson, people might accidentally assume I was J.K. Rowling and buy some of my books. Yes, that's my sad confession. But the reality was that no one really cared about that. But when I switched to writing under my full name, my street name, my everyday name, I had a bit of a branding issue. And that's something that Joseph Michael's dealing with now. Joseph Michael Nicoletti. So he wants people to start recognizing his name because that's his name. But he's known online primarily as Joseph Michael, and he is known even more as the Scrivener coach. But Scrivener is not his whole story. He developed this course, and it's a fascinating story, and you'll get to hear that in this show. But now he's looking at going a little further, taking and replicating his success and teaching other people how to do that. I think that's one of the things I really love about this guy, is that he's very open, just like everyone in this community. We're all very generous with what we know. We want to help people grow in this. So he's out to teach people how to do what he did. So it's a great conversation, and I'm going to lead you right to it. Before we get there, I wanted to remind everybody that I've got the new domain name pointing at the old site, but it's everything's new when you encounter it for the first time, right? So you can go now to wordslingerpodcast.com. It takes you to the same landing page that I've always been pushing, so nothing's changed there. You'll still see the same familiar stuff. But and from that page, you can do things like leave me a voicemail from your computer. The number is there, so you can call me. That's 281-809-WORD, 281-809-9673. That lets you leave me a voicemail. If you ask me a question about anything, especially when it comes to building authority or writing, or any of the things that I talk about on this show, then you can have that question read on air, and I'll answer it for you on the show. So go do that. I love doing that. Haven't gotten to do that yet on this show. I've done it on other shows that I do, like the Self-Publishing Answers podcast that I do with Nick Thacker. So, man, come on, don't leave me hanging. I get questions by email and that sort of thing, but it's usually something. It's not something appropriate to the show, or I don't know. It's weird how that sometimes works out. But if you'll start calling, I'll start answering. And again, now that you can go to wordslingerpodcast.com, you can click directly on the little Patreon button that's on the site. That'll take you to my Patreon support page. And I really, really want to thank everybody who is contributing on that, because it's there's some small amounts, and in most cases, if it's $1 or $2 here or there, people don't mind throwing that my way, which is great. But it helps. It's so weird how even as little as $1 just gets multiplied. It helps me with the overhead for the show. There's not a lot of out of pocket expenses in this, but there is time, and time and money are sort of an uneven exchange, as I've said before. And the thing is, I will spend the time on this show. And if I have to spend time, in my excess hours to do it, I will do it. Because I want to provide something that's really, quality and really does something good for you. And I'll keep doing that. But what happens with the funding is that it allows me to offset some things. I can push aside paid projects, because this is also a paid project. So it helps me kind of reduce the time overhead, and which helps me live a freer life. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And then I can go on and develop more stuff that's even more helpful, like my own courses, which I have to thank Joseph Michael for helping me kind of walk in that direction. So thanks a lot for your support. Go to wordslingerpodcast.com and click on the Patreon button. It'll take you right to that page. And there's a video that I think I need to replace at this point. The audio's off sync and everything. Sorry about that, but you get to see a little preview of the studio where I am right now. So, you can go check it out. But as little as $1 a month would help. And you can commit as much as you want. Actually, I say commit, but there's no real commitment. I mean, you're pledging, but you can stop that at any time. So there's no commitment. You're not on the hook for anything. I'm not going to harass you. But I really do appreciate it. So go check that out. You may have noticed at the front of the show, I'm running a new ad now. Now I'm kind of promoting myself more in the consulting arena. So if you are looking to, primarily what I do is talk to people about writing. Writing is such a powerful tool. It's not just for authors anymore. Okay, I mean, if you want to improve your business or even define your business, some people have trouble figuring out what their brand is, what their voice is. Who their audience is, and I can help you with that. I will help you with that if you'll drop by and say hello. I have a whole process that I use for people to help them become better at writing and using writing more. But it's not just about writing. I do strategy work with people. I help them figure out what they already have, what they need, but also what they already have, what resources they have at their disposal that can help them market and promote their business. I got quite a few years in this business in marketing. I've actually been writing professionally for 30 years, which, if you do the math, means I started at 12 years old. So, which is true. I got my first paid writing gigs when I was 12 years old. So, I can help you. So, drop by, say hello. I generally, I'm very open about things that, I have an hourly rate, but, come on, let's face it, we're going to talk more than that. And I'm going to throw you a lot of freebies. So you can also check out some of the resources. Joseph Michael's course, Learn Scrivener Fast, is available on my resources page. If you go to wordslingerpodcast.com and click on resources in the menu, you can get that. You can also purchase the software. Full disclosure, all of that stuff is affiliate. It's all affiliate links, and so I get paid for each thing that's purchased off of that site, off of that page. You don't pay any more for what you're getting. You pay the exact same price you would elsewhere. I just get a sort of a affiliate royalty split. So appreciate that. That helps me out a lot too. So go check that out. And now let's stop jabbering and let's get to the real meat of this whole thing. Joseph Michael, the Scrivener coach, talking about building and marketing courses online. Hey everybody, welcome back. As if you ever left. You've just been hanging out ever since the intro. I know that. So this week I'm talking to somebody who's been kind of an influence in my career, mostly by proxy because of the course he developed, and that is Joseph Michael, although he's going through a little bit of a rebrand to be Joseph Michael Nicoletti. And you probably know him best as the Scrivener coach, and he is an entrepreneur. He's out there teaching people how to use this amazing program, which has changed my life and the lives of many other writers that I know. And he is working hard now to teach people how to build businesses online. And since the topic of the day tends to be building authority businesses around here in Wordslinger land, I thought I'd have him on. So Joseph, do you go by Joseph? You go by Joe? What do you want me to call you, man? I should have asked you before.
My friends call me Joe. Online, it'll be Joseph Michael. So,
okay. So
feel free to call me Joe during the chat.
When I landed on your homepage, there's this big picture of you, and it says Joe right in the middle. So that's where that came from. So
there you go.
I wasn't trying to get too informal too fast, though. All right, let's address the 800-pound gorilla first, because this is where I encountered you the first time, and you provided something that made my life a lot easier. I am a lifetime subscriber to your Learn Scrivener Fast course, and it really has helped me a lot. I reference that all the time. Why don't you tell me a little about how you got into that side of things and why Scrivener is so important?
Sure. So yeah, I started using Scrivener just like a lot of folks to organize my writing. I was highly unorganized. I was writing 2 or 3 different blogs. I was doing, college work at the time. And so I had a lot of writing scattered all over the place. I had some stuff in Microsoft Word. I had some stuff in WordPress. I had some stuff in Google Docs. It was just kind of a mess, and I never could find anything. I was always the, organizational freak, I guess you could say. So when I saw Scrivener and its ability to organize things, I loved it. Yeah. The problem was I couldn't figure out how to use it for the life of me for quite a while. I went through they have an interactive tutorial that you can use when you get the software, but gosh, that took hours to get through. And I just didn't have a lot of time, and so I put it on the back burner. And then I kept hearing people talk about it, which most people have. It's like a cult following with Scrivener. So I kept giving it another try, and then finally, I said, all right, that's it. I'm switching everything I do to Scrivener, and I'm just mastering this thing. And I did. So I loved it. And, I often refer to the new car syndrome. So when you get a new car, you see that model everywhere, right? You're like, right. I never realized there were so many of these. It's similar for Scrivener with me. So once I mastered it, once I loved it, I noticed these articles and stuff popping up everywhere about Scrivener. One that particularly caught my eye was Michael Hyatt's post where he referenced, that he was using Scrivener for all of his writing. Fantastic post. He gave a breakdown of what his binder looked like, and I was just like, oh yeah, cool. Other people are using it too that are really influential, high level. I loved seeing how they were using it. Reading through the comments there, and just same thing that I was struggling with. Most people saying, man, I tried it, but this is a learning curve, and isn't there any courses where I can learn this? And, everybody was had no place to refer people to. Yeah. And I was just kind of shocked by that. I started looking around myself a little bit, and I noticed, there really wasn't a really well-organized, easy-to-follow tutorial for Scrivener. There was some YouTube videos and things like that, but nothing high quality, nothing organized. And so it was just kind of one of those light bulb moments where I was like, I wonder if I could create something that could be helpful, to help these people, and something I wish I would have had. And so I started to explore that, and, had no idea that would be a life-changing idea. We never really know when those ideas hit, but sometimes, you just, some of them you feel pulled to explore. You feel this compulsion a little bit, and I think those are the ones you kind of gotta go with. It's always a little risky, but that's how it started for me.
So you saw a need and you filled a need. I mean, there's a definition for people like you, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I was in the hunt for a problem to solve. I had been down the road where I I failed trying to create products that I thought people wanted.
Right.
Ones that, I wanted to make, and, I was into productivity and time management and all these kind of things. So I kept trying to put out products around that. Well, people weren't really willing to pay for that kind of, it wasn't really a big enough pain for them, at least with my following. So I was like, okay, I'm going to find something that people really struggle with, that I can really make a difference with. And it was just kind of matching up with Scrivener. I was like, well, I'm using it. I feel like I've got a really good handle on it. And I knew that with my background, I could produce some good video tutorials. I felt like that's what was missing in the world of Scrivener, was an over-the-shoulder view of how to use Scrivener.
Yeah.
It's not something you can really pick up that great just reading text or reading a blog post about.
No.
You need to see it. You need to see somebody using it and, click where they click and that kind of thing.
Yeah, my two biggest resources were you and the Scrivener community on Google+. And that was invaluable because I could ask questions. But even asking questions, you don't get really, it's not the same. Like I can go back into your stuff and dig in, and I vaguely remember how to do something, so I can go back through your courses and find it. So that's been pretty helpful. So I appreciate that.
Well, cool. I'm glad to hear that. That makes me proud.
So you're out there seeing needs and filling needs. That makes you an entrepreneur, and you're doing very well at it, I think. I mean, all signs seem to point to yes for you making a pretty good career out of this. But you're now kind of branching into showing other people how to do what you're doing. Why don't you talk a little about that business?
Yeah, sure. So it's funny because as this course has evolved, and it's been going, over 2 years now, we've got over 4,000 students in it, and more than Scrivener questions now. I get questions on, okay, how did you set this up? How did you make this course? What did you do? Did you use WordPress? Did you use this? And a lot of people have been willing to pay for consulting, to say, I'll pay you for your time to show me what you did, and so much so that I don't have much more time to give. And so I'm like, well, they're asking me for this next product, so let's build something where I can really go detailed, nuts and bolts style, just like I did with Scrivener, with an over-the-shoulder type view of how to create a digital product or an online course. So that's what I've been working on the last several months. I'm really, really excited about bringing something new to the market that shows a lot more detail than people are used to, a lot less theory and more detail. Like here's how to, create buttons on your sidebar that actually look pretty without knowing any type of programming language or code, because I've got none of that. Like I built everything from scratch, and I was super cheap, didn't have a dime. So it was like everything was bootstrapping when I did it. I show some pictures when I speak live of me recording like in my car with a little blue snowflake, $40 microphone. And it's like, you gotta use what you have at first. And then as you start, making some money, you can invest in your stuff. But you don't really have to have a lot. You can bootstrap a lot of this stuff. Yeah. And I think that's where a lot of people are. So I want to kind of meet them where they're at and show them how to take it to the next level.
So do you think people overthink it when they're trying to build a business like this?
Oh, totally. I mean, and I'm still guilty of this. I was guilty of it in the beginning, and I'm still guilty of it now. I still have to remind myself that, it doesn't have to be perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect never gets done. You've got to get something out there. One of the greatest pieces of advice I heard when I was building the course, which, it took me about 8 months or so to build the course. Now, this was done with having a day job. It was like early mornings, late nights, skipping lunch hour, to work on the course. And but one of the greatest pieces of advice was just get something that's like 90% good, and you can always go back and fix them later. Like if you're recording a video, just get something out there that explains the concept. You're going to hate it because we're our own worst critic, right? So we never like the stuff we put out there. But you can go and fix it later. You can upgrade it later. And some of those first few videos I did are still in the course today. And I'm so glad that I just moved on, because I would have still been tweaking those videos.
Are you thinking of going back and updating them?
I am actually just now. I'm going back through and up just because it pains me so much, because I've learned so much over the last 2 years about, audio and things like that, to where most people still comment on them and say, hey, the video and audio is great. But to me, I'm like, now I know I can do better. So I've got to update them a little bit.
Yeah.
But
I can tell you, I came in from the film and television and video production world, and I think they're good. I mean, I don't see anything wrong with them. So
yeah, well, I'm super glad to hear that. That's awesome. I hear the little things like the tiny hiss in the background.
Yeah.
And it's like that was due to me, not knowing how to soundproof a room, or I mean, a lot of the tutorials. It's funny because I was either doing them either in my car during lunch break, which is pretty crazy,
right,
or like in my office, which had like a tile floor. It was kind of an industrial style type office, to where it was like printers and all these things. And so during my lunch break, I'd close the door. I'd try to turn off all the machines to eliminate some of the hiss and the hum, but they're still there. And so I can tell in the videos when I go back and listen to them, like, okay, that one was done in the office, that one was done in the car. So it's funny because, that kind of stuff, like I want it to be consistent now, but most people would never know that. It's pretty unglamorous, the production.
Yeah. I've recorded more than one podcast in the car, so I get where you're coming from. I mean, that's actually a pretty decent little sound booth when it's all said and done.
It's really not that bad, especially with all the cloth seats and stuff like that. It's pretty good.
Yeah, no AC though, so you can't.
Yeah, that gets that.
And in Texas, I don't actually know where you are. Where are you in the world?
Right smack in the middle. I'm in St. Louis, Missouri.
St. Louis, Missouri. Okay, so it's a little cooler there.
Yeah, we get a mixture of everything. I mean, we can have 80 degrees one day, and then it might snow the next. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. So you're teaching people how to build these businesses. Do you have like a particular audience that you're aiming for with this? I mean, I know it's entrepreneurs in general, but who's somebody who's going to benefit from what you're teaching?
So the people that I'm really going for are those that have a pretty good idea of the knowledge that they want to teach. Yeah. And this could even be people who have already written a book, let's say, like a nonfiction book, who want to turn that book into an online course.
Right.
And actually make real money with it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of half joking. But so I'm working with somebody now, a good pro blogger friend of mine. We're getting ready to launch a site called productcreationlive.com. Okay. And then that's what we're doing is we're going to take his book and I'm going to teach him kind of sort of live. We're going to put some stuff out there, have some live events, but it's really just recording like the backstage, the behind the scenes of how we go about structuring this, what kind of questions somebody who doesn't have the slightest clue about what to do next has, and then me coaching them through it. So it's going to be a lot of just raw behind the scenes stuff of going through that process. I'm looking to get some feedback from people and just get some real questions and that kind of stuff. And then I'm hoping to develop a course around that. So, but I'm also just creating a standard, here's how to get a course from A to B and everything I've done. So it's extremely, behind the scenes of the Learn Scrivener Fast course, exactly how I did it. Yeah. There's a lot of different ways you can go nowadays with, Kajabi or Udemy or all these other places, or you can host your own course, which is what I've done. And so I'm going to show people how to do that version of it. And it's going to be for those who really are not very technically inclined, because that's kind of who I like to teach, is like really extreme hand-holding, watch over my shoulder. I'm going to show you exactly how to do it point by point, click by click, and make it to where you don't have to think as much, because thinking hurts. So we're going to eliminate that.
Yes, I get to points where I can't brain anymore for the day.
Totally. Oh, yeah.
So you do you recommend hosting if you're going to develop a course, do you recommend hosting it over going with someone like Udemy or whatever?
I do, because I guess I'm a little biased. That's the route I took. And everything I've studied now, and especially as I'm putting together this other content, it's a lot more profitable to host your own course, obviously. Now, there's a few factors that go into that. The bigger the audience you have is a factor. Your marketing ability. There's this, you can't just build it and they will come. Yeah. There's a marketing component too. And so that's going to make a lot of difference as to how many people you can get to your course. But you just have all the decisions and you have all the options when you host your own course. Yeah. You can reach out to, affiliate partners. You can do coupons. I mean, you control everything. Yeah. Whereas if you're hosting it with somebody else, you give a lot of the control to them. sometimes you're not even able to communicate with the students, which was a big factor with me because I like to be able to have my students in an email list to where I can promote further products. I can, make sure I'm meeting their needs. So those are some of the benefits that stuck out to me.
So those are the benefits. What's the downside?
Well, the downside is it's a lot harder. So, something like Udemy, you don't have to have any, technical skills at all. You don't even have to go out and look for, all the pieces are put together for you. So when you're doing your own, you have to bring a payment processor, and you've got to host your video somewhere, and you've got to kind of build the castle with all these different pieces.
Yeah.
So those are more of a done-for-you solution. But, once it's built, man, I mean, it can really be a well-oiled machine. Yeah. I mean, it's just amazing and mind-blowing to me now that, that year of really in the trenches and building where, you want to quit so many times. And like now it's running on its own. And it's like, this passive income thing it's about as passive as it can get.
Is it already running? You're already running it?
Oh, not the new course. I'm still referring to just my original course of Learn Scrivener Fast.
Oh, yeah. Because I got very excited for a second because I was about to go hang up on this call and go sign up somewhere.
Well, I'll definitely have to let you join the beta group because I'm getting ready to launch it to a beta group here in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, definitely can't wait. Yeah, I'd love to take a look at that. So, all right, you brought up the M word, and so we're gonna put that out there. So, when it comes to marketing, how are you marketing these things?
Well, for me, my main marketing engine has been joint ventures and partnering with people who have the audience that I need for my product. So I listened to a Jay Abraham video when I was kind of building this. And one of, he's this master marketer. If you guys aren't familiar with him, just type him in YouTube and all kinds of videos will come up. He mentioned somewhere that he said, the fastest way to go from zero to exposure is joint ventures. Now, this works in any kind of business model, and it's essentially just utilizing the audience that somebody else already has. So I knew, okay, it was kind of easy for me to identify my niche. Obviously, it's going to be writers, it's going to be, indie publishing and self-publishing, all that kind of stuff. So I immediately started to connect with the influencers in the space. Now, that takes a lot of patience in the beginning when you're like a no-namer and a nobody, and you can't just jump right in and contact them and ask like, hey, you want to promote this? That it doesn't really work like that way. So I did a lot of studying on strategy behind Twitter and how to connect with people and networking, and there's an art to it, and basically it's just a lot of patience. It's about giving before asking.
Yeah.
Very similar to Gary Vaynerchuk's new book of Jab, 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 Right Hook.
Yeah, which is great.
Yeah, and he's talking about customers. When you don't just ask them to buy, but you're giving them, you give, and then you ask. Yeah. Well, you're doing the same thing when you're approaching affiliate partners, and you're kind of selling yourself first. So in order to sell yourself, you're seeing where you can give. In the beginning, I didn't have a lot of skills. I didn't have an audience that I could say, hey, this is going to benefit you. But I had some design skills, and I would do logos and graphics and things like that for people in the beginning. That was like the one thing I was like, hey, if you ever need help tweaking this or that, let me know. I'd be glad to help. And sure enough, they were like, oh, well, you know what? I did need this little thing tweaked. And would you do that? Could you create an ebook 3D image for me? And, sure. Like I would just look for things that I could give.
Yeah.
And then actually, if you can connect with them, if you can go to a conference, if you can jump on a Skype chat, and it's amazing what asking for an introduction can do too. I've learned to get over that fear of, hey, do you know anybody else that might be interested in this kind of a thing or that I should connect with? And people online, there's this spirit of camaraderie, of helping one another.
Yeah.
That just isn't in the corporate world. I mean, it's totally different. I found that most people are really helpful online. Have you found that to be true?
Absolutely. Yeah. No, it's pretty amazing because even the people that are really difficult to connect with will offer some kind of help. And there's a real camaraderie there. Very kumbaya.
Yeah, absolutely. And really, it's just a matter of asking. Like, I think that's the worst part, is you don't want to feel dumb asking, or you don't want to send that email and it's like, what's the worst that could happen?
Yeah.
You either don't get a response or you get a no. Like,
Right.
really no big deal.
My grandfather, I quote this all the time, so everyone listening is now rolling their eyes into the back of their skull, but my grandfather always had a saying that I never got a thing I didn't ask for, even if it was a punch in the mouth.
Nice.
So,
Yeah. I mean, it's true. It's
yeah.
just a matter of patience and then asking when the time is right. So, like, my big break came when I got a tweet from Michael Hyatt. Okay. And that was through, it was months of following him on Twitter, of commenting on his blog, on sharing his articles, and just being a real person. And then after, like, literally, like, 6 months, there was a time when I think I responded to something he said on Twitter. And so he's identified me now as, my handle is @ScrivenerCoach on Twitter. So he knows I'm dealing something with Scrivener, right? And so chances are, sooner or later, he's clicked over and looked at my profile and whatnot. Well, he asked me a question regarding Scrivener, if it was possible to, if there was a workflow where you could work with your editor who wants to use Microsoft Word and bring Scrivener into the equation. And he asked me that on Twitter, and I was like, hey, you know what? I will find the workflow for you. And if there isn't one, I'll create one. And so I dropped everything and, made sure I found this workflow. I created this workflow for him, and, I was able to respond to him. And then it was an entryway to say, hey, here's your workflow. By the way, I'm creating this Scrivener series, this course. You actually inspired me to create it because of the post you wrote. I would love to get your opinion. And I thought, honestly, he's way too busy to give me his opinion on the course. But he wasn't. He was, since he had asked me, it's a totally different experience than me trying to go after him.
Right. Yeah.
And so, of course, he went through the course and he gave me some great feedback. He loved it and was like, this is really well done. There's such a need for this. He's like, I was thinking about creating a Scrivener course. Now I don't have to. And so then he started mentioning me on Twitter every once in a while. And that changed everything. And that's when I really realized the power of influencers.
Right.
And like immediately there was like several $100s in sales. Just from one tweet. And I, for me coming into this, all I wanted to make was an extra $300 a month to, help pay down some bills.
Right.
And so to see like, a month's worth of day job income come in like overnight because of one tweet, I was just like, I was floored by that. Obviously, that was a lot of fuel to my fire. So,
right.
And then I started getting, it was easier to get introductions. And then people were contacting me like, hey, I saw this. And, if Michael Hyatt tweeted about it, it must be good. And so that's a light bulb moment again for me where I was like, okay, let's connect with influencers because that can push and move mountains quicker than anything I've ever seen.
Right.
And so I made it my goal to make things as easy as possible for the partners that I work with. And so that, like, even when I do a webinar, behind the scenes, nobody sees this. Actually, I don't think I've ever mentioned this on a podcast before. So
all right, exclusive.
You're getting it for the first time. I have what I call like a done-for-you experience for the podcast, with a webinar. And basically, I make them look great without taking an ounce of their time. I handle all the tech, everything. And, as far as their audience is concerned, they're the host. They brought me on as their guest. But I run the whole show. And it's just easy for them. They're busy. They don't have time. And so that's like a gift that I give to them and make it super easy to work with. And then obviously we make a good paycheck together. We split any profits. And through that, I'm recommended to other affiliate partners that they may know and say, hey, this was a great experience.
Right.
And one thing rolls to the next. So again, my key there was, what can you do for them that makes either their job easier or their audience love them more, or they can give value in a way that they couldn't before.
You basically went all Zig Ziglar on the whole thing.
I'm a huge Zig Ziglar fan. I grew up listening to Zig.
I think anybody who does anything remotely like what we're doing is a huge Zig Ziglar fan.
Probably so.
I think I still have old tapes. Like I still have like worn out cassette tapes floating around somewhere.
Like the famous, you help enough other people get what they want.
Yes.
And you'll get what you want. I was always skeptical of that. Like, well, okay, maybe. But, seeing it in action, it's true.
Well, you're proof. I mean, you're doing it. You're out
Yeah.
helping other people get what they want, and they're propelling your success. I think that's incredible.
I never thought I could be in a situation where it's truly win-win.
Right.
That was what I always dreamed of was, man, if I could figure out a way to help people and make a living at the same time, like that would be great.
Yeah.
So it does exist.
It does.
I'm here to tell you.
That's fantastic. So, okay, you went with you basically went with a product over a service, which I personally think is brilliant. I keep failing at that aspect because I keep every time I create a product, I end up basically just funneling it all back to a service. But so, what was there? Do you think that's an advantage that you have a product to offer rather than something you perform on behalf of someone else?
Totally. At least passively, there's a huge advantage. So, like when I started, basically I was, like I said, I was just looking for that $300 a month.
Yeah.
So I guess I was a little bit, how do I say that? I don't want to say money hungry, but I was just going after like the business side. Like I was like, okay, I need cash in my pocket
Right.
in order to, ultimately do the things I want to do. And I didn't even want to do Scrivener stuff in the beginning. I mean, I remember thinking, I'm not even an author. Like, how can I teach people how to use a writing software when I haven't used it to write a book? But now it's phenomenal because I get to dispel that expert myth all the time where people say, I can't do that because I'm not an expert in that. It's like, an expert is just somebody who knows a little bit more than the average person about something. So you can't let that stop you.
Throw adages at them. That always works.
Absolutely.
I think. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. No. You're the guest. You talk.
Sorry. No, I had a huge Monster drink right before this, so I'm all amped up.
Okay, no problem.
And the other thing that people, said in the beginning was that you had to build an audience first.
Mm-hmm.
And I just struggled with that because I spent about a year trying to build an audience and just didn't really gain traction. And so I thought, well, maybe it would be a little bit more fun if I built a product first and then went and brought the audience to it.
Right.
There's there's two ways to do it. And I just found that to be a lot more exciting for me to have a product so that when I was in a conversation and if it came up like, oh, hey, by the way, take a look at this.
Yeah.
And to see like more immediate results through that. And over the last couple of years, I'm a huge fan of a product that can sell over and over again, any time of the day, all across the world.
Right.
Whether I do anything or not.
Yeah.
Like, it's just amazing. And
That's
my
as
wife and I will
passive
go
as it
to
gets.
lunch and we'll walk out and I'll, have 6 notifications of sales. And it's like, what? That's just, that's not the world I come from.
Lunch is on Scrivener today, honey.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing.
So, okay, you have a formula now, it seems, for generating this kind of product, and you're putting to work. I mean, what are some of the challenges of implementing that?
Oh, implementing a product?
Yeah, so you started with answering a call. I mean, Michael Hyatt says, hey, is there a workflow? And so you went and created that, and then from that evolved your product. So what were some of the challenges in basically going from I'm doing this guy a favor to I've got a product that makes my living for me?
Oh, man. You name it. I mean, there's so many.
Yeah, I should have asked an easier question.
No, it's, I think every entrepreneur struggles with a lot of the same things from the people I've talked to is, there's this roller coaster of emotions. One day you're like on top of the world. I can do this. This is the greatest thing ever.
Yeah.
To the very next day, you're like, this is trash. I'm a fraud. What am I doing?
Yeah.
I'm an imposter.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just nuts. So I think the thing that's helped me the most is just being consistent, just giving yourself like enough time. Like my ultimate goal in the beginning, and I remember telling my wife this, was like, let me just see if I can put my head down and work really hard for 5 years on this and see if something comes of it. And if it doesn't, and I know I've given it my all, and after 5 years, then, I'll change course or whatever. I had no idea that in just a year's time, things could just change dramatically. But it was that consistency. It was the ability to get or reframe failure, I should say, from a stance of, what if this fails to what can I learn from this? Yeah. So it's just simply reframing failure in a way of you're experimenting. And that's what I tell people now is like, just be a scientist. Just like when I started my course, I was like, well, I'm going to experiment with this course.
Yeah.
Instead of like, I'm going to create this thing, and if nobody buys it, then I'm a failure. It was like, I'm going to create this thing, and I'm going to learn how to make a course, and if nobody buys it, at least I learned how to make a course, and I'll make something else. Because there are no guarantees. Like, I wish we all had just known, like, oh, this is going to be an idea that's going to succeed. Like, we don't know that.
Right.
We're all afraid of wasting time on something that doesn't pay off, or nobody buying, and us feeling like, for some reason, we attach it to our personal worth, which is just silliness, but we do it.
Yeah. It's normal.
So a lot of it's, I think, mental, honestly.
Yeah.
If we can get over the mental hurdles and then just really put your head down and focus on something and stay consistent and just keep plugging away at it. I remember being really frustrated by the progress, just being able to do like one training unit at a time. It felt like the course was never going to get done. And then you're looking back and you're like, gosh, I've spent 7 months on this thing. If this doesn't work out, I just wasted 7 months. And
right.
It's just that constant battle, and you're just like, oh well, I'm going to see it through. So I think those are the biggest challenges, honestly.
What was the sort of lowest point in all that? Like, was there ever a point at which the challenges got maybe too much, and you wanted to just sort of walk away?
Oh yeah, tons of them. I mean, you know how they say like when it rains it pours. Like I remember a day where I think like all my stuff was just like not working, and then I got, some kind of, I don't know whether I got hacked or a plugin caused some sort of a thing where, I couldn't log in, and it's like my weekends were like the time I had to like really make something.
Yeah.
And so I would wake up, really early, before my wife and daughter woke up. So I would try to get stuff done. And then all of a sudden I try to log into my WordPress dashboard and I just see this white screen. And, mind you, I'm really new to this stuff. I don't know how plugins work. I'm not the tech guy at all. And I'm just like, oh, come on. What, I ended up spending the whole day trying to find somebody that could help me and going into the whatever cPanel FTP, trying to do all these things. And it's just like, it took like 12 hours of just in nothingness. And I was like, this is ridiculous. And the guy kept saying, do you have a backup? And I'm like, no. Was I supposed to back it up? And he's like, might have lost everything. And I'm like, if I lost everything, that's it. I'm done.
Oh, no.
It was just like stuff like that happened a lot, actually. And it was just frustrating. It's constantly, something frustrating. Or recording, I was batching videos and like recording a bunch of them only to find out that, whoops, my mic wasn't on.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, like I am not doing that over.
Yeah.
And so you just quit for the day.
They could just read my lips.
Yeah. Like, no. Like, that stuff happens just all the time. So, yeah, a lot of those times are when you want to quit. And then every once in a while, when you start to put yourself out there, you get these trolls, right? You get people who just want to be, like, rude for no reason. I don't understand what it is with online. People say things that they would never say or, do in person. So I heard people talk about that, and I just never really understood that until you start putting yourself out there. And I think that's probably some of the fear people have. And it ultimately just comes down to, they're not your target customer.
Yeah, that's right.
Just ignore them. That's not the people you're selling to.
That's hard. That's hard to do, especially when you come in from that, you're kicking and swinging just to survive, taking every client, taking every gig. And, it's hard to say, well, they're just not my customer.
Oh, totally. And when you need every customer, it's hard to say like, no. I remember, some people would, say some rude things, and I would read these emails to my wife, and she would get like so mad. She's like, do they have any idea how much time you're spending on this thing and how much, frustration you put into it? And, it's like, that's just it. They don't. They don't know. Chances are they're not out there trying to create something. The people that are and that do, they get it. And, but there's always, for every troll, there's a lot of people you're able to help. And so you just got to focus on those.
Right. That's exactly right. I'm glad to hear you say that, actually. So
it's not easy, though, because you can get 100 compliments one day, but you get one negative troll, and that's the one your mind wants to keep going to. Yeah,
I know. And we have a mutual friend, Nick Thacker, who it's really tough on him, and I feel bad sometimes when he gets, when someone says something, because he takes it so very personally, and I take it personally too. But I'm trying to be all sort of Yoda Zen,
Yeah.
say, it's okay.
Right.
But I'm on his side. I want to go smack those people around.
Yeah, they do. They get under your skin sometimes, but especially I think the more genuine you are and really wanting to help people, like I've always come from a place of like, I'm just trying to help you, like.
Yeah.
I think that's when it hurts the most. Like, I would never say that to somebody, or, I don't know. It's just.
You know what, though? You're successful at building a business, and they're trolls on the internet. So,
Yeah.
Which job title do you want?
Right. You're right.
So, do you outsource any of what you're doing now? Do you have like a VA or something you hand some things off to?
I do have a VA now.
That's all the rage now.
Yeah, it is. Because you can realize that's the only way to really duplicate yourself in a way.
Yeah.
And with technology also comes a lot of headaches. So my email got to the point where I was like so out of control. And with 4,000 students in the course, we get a lot of support tickets, a lot of questions and things like that. And so I was spending all day answering, support tickets and emails. And I was like, man, I'm never creating anything anymore.
Yeah.
So I had to finally, invest in a VA, which is like, I wish I would have done it way sooner. It's life changing.
Yeah. It's that balance. Like, okay, I'm going to have to pay them every month, so I want to make sure I'm making money.
Yeah.
But do I have enough to give them? What am I willing to hand over? Yeah, that's kind of scary.
Exactly, it is, and it does take some challenge, some thought process too, to like explain how you want something done, and we all struggle with that. Well, I can do it best.
Yeah.
But it's just not true. Like, my VA is way better at certain tasks than I am, and
don't you find it hard to admit that though?
Yeah. Oh yeah. At first, it's like
like, oh, okay, yeah. Grudgingly, you are better at this than I am.
Right. Yeah.
So, what's your basic process in creating something like this? I mean, I know your process of creating the Learn Scrivener Fast course was experimental, but you've got this refined now, right? So, what's a day look like?
Yeah, sure. So I'm really big on systemizing and batching whatever I can. Okay. And I've learned that energy management is the most important thing, more than time management. So for me, like I work really good in the mornings and not so much in the later afternoon. And so it's like I really structure my creation time around those mornings and batching and time blocking. So the Pomodoro technique really works well for me, to where I'll work for a solid, 25 minutes with a 5-minute break, and then another 25 minutes. And that 25 minutes is very focused time. So there's nothing that's allowed to interrupt me during that time. And it's either, okay, let me just kind of go all nuts and bolts on the course stuff with you. So when I teach people how to, start creating a course, I like to say, like, build some sort of a frame out first. Okay. And you can do this in WordPress. You can do this on a free WordPress theme. Essentially, I just create a page that will host like the lessons on it. There's a fantastic plugin out there called WP Courseware, which I use. If you're in my course, so the little check marks where you can, like, I've completed this unit, and it'll highlight it for you. It'll track your progress and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's WP Courseware. It's a simple plugin. It makes it like drag and drop easy to create courses and modules and units. Essentially, if you can write a blog post, you can, create a course unit, because it's like the same thing.
Sweet. All right.
And so, like, what I do is I build the framework out first, and I'll kind of outline it of where I want to plug in my information. This all starts on paper. For me, sometimes you just can't beat paper. Yeah. As good as digital stuff is, something about just either whiteboard or paper, something like that.
Okay, I'm going to take a guess. You have a Moleskine.
I do.
I am also a big fan of the Moleskine. So yes.
I love them. Yeah, they're great. And I've started using the great little micron pens too. So
yes, yeah.
I'm like a big fan of liking your tools. So it's like I look forward to writing in that notebook with my micron. It sounds silly, but any little thing to get you going with momentum.
Yeah, whatever keeps you moving.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll spend some time, outlining on paper. Then I'll start creating the frame online. And then once I see that online, it gets me excited about putting in more content. for me, it's all about momentum, like I just
Yeah.
said. So once you can get that momentum, it keeps you going, and that will pull you through those times when you're just like not motivated. So once I have the frame, then I start going through whatever it is I'm teaching. I'm a big fan of screenshots, as you probably know from course too.
Yeah.
So anywhere that I can go and take screenshots of the steps, I go and create those first. That way I'm very clear on what the steps are that I'm going to show. Then I will go and record the video after I've just gone through that, because I'm more clear about what I'm going to say, and I don't fumble over my words as much. It saves me a lot of editing time. So then I'll record a video, and then I'll upload that to Vimeo, which is, you know, what I use now. I might experiment with Wistia for my next round. And then I do that process over and over again until, you know, I start to pretty soon have a complete module done, and then a complete, you know, a complete course done. And then you can start thinking about bonuses and all that other stuff. So
would you, it sounds, so you're still very hands-on. I mean, so would you consider outsourcing the actual components of creating this, or is this something you really love doing, so you stick to it?
Yeah, for me, I think the creating the materials is part of my business that only I can do. So
Okay.
as far as like setting up, you know, webinar pages and that kind of thing, like that I can outsource. The stuff that's more nuts and bolts, and here's how to do it, and you do the same thing. But for me, the creating the content part, that's my favorite part, and that's what I think is unique about my material. So that stuff's pretty impossible to outsource.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. It's got to have your it's like I couldn't outsource one of my books. So I always have to write the book. So that's the work. That's
right.
the reason I do everything else.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. It would there are times where I'm like, hey, you know, I would throw a few bucks at somebody if they just, you know, dig in my head and get the story up.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I will say my VA is a great researcher. So I've used her a lot for, like, okay, I want to create a training unit around this topic. Can you go and research what people are saying about it, or what struggles they're having with it, and maybe give me an outline of some of the pain points. Now, and that works great. That saved me a ton of time, because then I can go through and say, okay, so whereas before I was spending that time, those hours,
Right.
researching. And there's a lot, you know, that's a step that cannot be skipped. I mean, the more research you do and the more you know about your target audience, you know, that's a big factor you can't skip.
So what's the there's got to be something, even if it's small, but what's the thing that you have to do, it can only be you, that you don't really enjoy doing?
Whew, boy.
There's always something, though.
There is. I'm really good at doing video, but I don't enjoy it.
Yeah.
So I'll say that, because I am really critical, and I do struggle with the perfectionism thing still. And so, you know, every video that I make, I don't like. And so it's hard, because I'm still editing my own stuff too. So I know that I probably need to hand that off, because I spend way too much time like,
that's the easiest one to hand off.
Yeah, I know. I don't know why I haven't done that one yet. I need to.
You're clinging to it. I know where it's coming from.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've got Learn Scrivener Fast. You're working on this other. What do you call them? The course building thing. What's it going to be called? Or do you even have a name for it yet? Or do you even want to announce it?
No, sure. Yeah, it's going to be called Easy Course Creation.
Okay.
So there's no site up right now or anything like that. But if you want to follow along some of the behind the scenes stuff of even me building all that, it's going to be at productcreationlive.com.
Okay.
I have this theory that all of us like to see the behind the scenes stuff just as much as the finished, polished product.
Yes.
I think we can even maybe almost learn a little bit more from seeing a work in progress.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of testing that with Product Creation Live. I know every picture I see that somebody posts of like their office, and then there's like a whiteboard in the background.
Yeah.
And
and you're like zooming in and
yeah, like I don't know if you know Grant Baldwin or not. He's another great guy. You'll have to get him on the show. But
Will do.
We always make a joke like, you know, you're going to have to send us what's on your whiteboard, because we're going to sit there and try to zoom in all day long. So I'm just going to kind of take that to the extreme and say, all right, let's go really inside and show you around, and we'll see if people like it.
Yeah. I'm going to go check that out because I actually did not know that the Product Creation Live website was there. So I'm going to go check that out.
Yeah, that one right now is just kind of a video of me telling you what it's going to be, and you can opt in to, get the first training, which should hopefully be out soon.
Okay. So, all right. Well, we're coming up. I don't want to take up any more of your time. We're running out of my 45-minute window here. So, people can find you. I know that they can find you at LearnScrivenerFast.com. That's where they can go and sign up for the course, which, by the way, everyone listening, highly recommend, especially if you are a would-be or current author. But they can also find you on josephmichael.net. That's your homepage, right?
Yeah, that's where you can find out about all my projects.
That's the hub.
That's the hub. Yep.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I was coming through there earlier, and you got. So, is it one more question though? But I forgot to ask earlier. What else is on the horizon besides this? The easy course correction or creation. I wrote correction on my page here. I got to change that.
No problem. I've really fallen in love with the whole writing community. So there's a lot that can be done there. I want to create more stuff to help those with Scrivener. I'm looking into creating a podcast in the near future.
Okay.
So along with the podcast, maybe do a video podcast component to that. So between those three things, those are pretty much going to keep me busy for a while.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, that sounds like a busy schedule coming.
Yeah, it's probably a little more. I always bite off a little more than I can chew.
Yeah, me too. That's the curse of the entrepreneur.
It is. It totally is.
All right. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me, and you're a busy guy. I'm very happy that you took the time. And if anyone kind of flings questions my way, because I always give out a number at the end of the show, you mind if I send some your way if they come in?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'd be glad to help.
Very cool. All right. Well, you heard him, everybody. So fill up that inbox. All right. Joseph Michael, Joseph Michael Nicoletti, Scrivener coach. So thanks so much again for being on the show. And for everybody listening out there, you can pick up all the links that we talked about in the show notes. So go check that out. And while you're out there, hey, why don't you hit the stars next to my name in iTunes? I dig that. So thanks a lot, everybody. And thank you, Joe. And we'll see everybody next week.
Thanks, Kevin.
That was Joseph Michael, the Scrivener coach. And, that's all very, powerful thinking, powerful information. It influenced me because I immediately went out after that conversation and started pulling together material so I could develop some of my own courses. And I'll be honest, I've thought about developing courses in the past, but, I don't know. There's something about talking to people who have done what you want to do. There's something, you can read all the books, you can listen to all the podcasts, even this one. You can actually go out and, read blogs and watch videos, and you can learn so much from all that. There's such a wealth of free information out there. But the reality is that having someone you can talk to directly about all this stuff is really powerful. It really gets you motivated, really gets you going. And which is why I offer, see that little sales pitch I put in there? No, which is why, honestly, this is why I do consulting. I talk to people about this exact thing, how to use the resources that they have and how to build from that. So talking to Joe on the show was a real motivator for me. So, and if you are looking for advice on what you can do with some of the materials you have, how to improve maybe your copywriting skills, how to use writing to define your business, build your business, and help yourself grow, that sort of thing, come check me out. Go on. You can go to wordslingerpodcast.com, which goes to my homepage at kevintumlinson.com, but it's a little easier to remember and spell. So go check that out, and you can click on the Services tab up there in the menu, and that'll lead you to my consulting page where we can work out an hour to chat. So, and I'm happy to do that, and I'll be honest with you, I almost always give people so much more than what they're paying for that. I kind of rob myself a little, but because there's only so many hours in the day. But I really love it. And I actually end up meeting some of my mentors this way, because I believe in that whole 7 habits principle of sharpening the saw. Even if you're, maybe you're the best around at what you do, it doesn't hurt though to go talk to somebody and get a new perspective, which is kind of what I'm all about now, all about new perspectives. So I hope you enjoyed this interview with Joseph Michael. And, I continue to get a lot out of these things. I listen to every single podcast. Every time one goes live, I get excited. It pops up on my, I listen to everything on the podcast app on my iPhone. I just haven't really gotten into Stitcher. I don't know why. Everyone loves it. I understand why they love it, I think. I mean, I like the layout and design of it, but, my podcast tool of choice is the podcast app. Don't ask me why. You may be listening online. If you're listening on the website, man, I've never figured out how to do that, really. I mean, I know logistically how to do it. I know technically how to do it. But I've never figured out how to make myself sit and listen to a podcast while I'm sitting at my computer. It just seems like it would distract me from other things. But I was also never the guy who could listen to talk radio or whatever while I was working. At best it's music, and for the most part I don't even do that. So that's actually weird, because in the day I used to write with a movie going. It was always a movie I'd seen a million times, so I would put on an old favorite and let it play in the background while I worked. It kept me from feeling lonely in that whole isolated period. So anyway, come check out the website, and you can sign up for the mailing list and become a slinger. And if you do that, that's going to put you in a whole new world of cool stuff. You get announcements about giveaways. One of the giveaways is going on, if this is not too late. This actually I think airs after. I won't mention it then. I won't tease you because I just did a giveaway, but I'll be doing another one. Sorry about that. I hate kind of feeding something out there. Maybe by now I've got a new one planned. I don't know. When you're listening to this, go check out the website and you'll see. Go to wordslingerpodcast.com. You can leave me a voicemail straight from the SpeakPipe tab that pops up on the right-hand side of the page there. You can also call me. Now, the SpeakPipe thing lets you do that internationally, which is great. You don't have to worry about toll charges or whatever anywhere you are. You can also call me at 281-809-WORD. That's 281-809-9673. Where you can leave me a voicemail. You can email me, by the way, too. I don't mind email. I love email. I'm sorry about all the swallowing lately. Right now, my mouth is kind of dry, too. Let me take a sip. You want to hear me take a sip? Here. That's good radio. So, you can leave me either a voicemail or an email from the Wordslinger podcast website, or call me at 281-809-WORD. 96732 to leave me a voicemail. And if you'll ask me a question, I'll answer it on the show. These days, what I'm trying to focus on, and this is working. I'm focusing a lot on helping people kind of build and develop their authority business, and my primary tool for that is to help with writing. I can give you an inside track on how to become a better writer, how to use writing to define your business and your career, and even your own life. I mean, you can define anything you want. I interviewed Marianne Cantwell a while back, and one of the things that she said, and I've quoted this a couple of times now, was that she didn't really know when she started what her brand was and what her voice was, and not even particularly who her audience was. But she discovered that by writing these Friday love letters, which is her newsletter to her audience. And every Friday she'd write something in her own style, her own voice, and she'd make her offers. And she discovered through that process who she was as a business person and who she was talking to. And you can do the same thing. And if you need a little hand with that, I'm a mentor in that. So, give me a call. Go check out wordslingerpodcast.com, click on services. You can click on the consultant tab there, and that'll take you there to my page where you can, email me, contact me from there to set up a call. And I like to do these on Skype, so, or your phone is fine. Wherever you are in the world, I can talk to you. We'll work out a way. So hope you dig that, and I hope you dug this week's guest. Next week, I've got a couple of people lined up already. And, there's some surprises coming up in the future. There are some folks that I've been talking to that I think you're really going to dig. I'm kind of branching out a little too because I don't want to just fall into like the internet marketing world. I want you to be exposed to the idea of turning anything that you're interested in or passionate about, anything that you could be considered an expert in. I want you to know that you can turn that into a business. Literally. I mean, I'm talking, coming up, I'm talking to Catelyn Adams, whom you may know from some of her roles. You've seen her and stuff, trust me. She was in The Jerk. That's one of the things I remember her from. But you can, you can track her career on IMDb. Go check out Catelyn Adams. So I have her on the show talking about, she does like acting coaching, and she has some big names associated with that. Now, for all kinds of reasons, I can't divulge some of them, which is that's a little frustrating, but not so bad. I've also got coming up, the art guys, and these guys are, full-time professional conceptual artists. This is what they do for a living and have done for decades. And basically they have their workshop, and they create something, they make something. A lot of times they're developing something before they even have a client for it. And, if you're in the Houston area, you see them all the time. They're national in scope, but a lot of their work ends up on display in Houston first. And that call, unfortunately, has a lot of technical glitches. And I haven't edited it yet, done the edit yet. I hate saying edited. I haven't done the edit yet, so I'm saying this now because I'm confident I can pull that show together. But whatever. If it doesn't work, I'm going to interview them again because we had a whole lot of technical glitches in that. But so those are some those are great interviews, but they're a little more outside of the box. I wanted to give something that spoke to authority, even if it wasn't a traditional model. I want you to start thinking in terms of, what do I do? What do I know? And how do I leverage that and turn it into something that could be my career, that is something I'm passionate about. So I hope you love it. I know I did. I love talking to all these people. So there's that and more coming up. And you can find out, you'll know in advance, you'll know exactly when things launch. If you go and sign up to be a slinger on wordslingerpodcast.com, you can get on the mailing list. You learn about giveaways, learn about new posts for my blog, which is a daily post now. And, you get alerted whenever there's a new podcast. So go do that. I would also appreciate it. I'd love it if you would go on iTunes and find the show and give me some stars and a review. That helps people find this. And the show's all about helping people grow into these businesses, and I can do that a lot better with the audience kind of going up all the time. So go check that out. Thanks for being here. Thanks for tuning in every week, and thank you for your support. I appreciate you on levels I can't even explain. I'm just stupid grateful for you being here. So that's it for this week. Take care, and we will see you next week.
Word Slinger.